Hi, I'm Rocco Stano, and welcome to StoryMakers. Today, my guest is Richard Michelson, author of Next Year in the White House, Barack Obama's First Presidential Seder, and More Than Enough. Welcome, Richard.
Hello, Rocco. It is so great to be here with you again. It's been way too long since we've had a conversation.
What's that behind you?
Well, I happen to be sitting in my gallery, and I'm fortunate to have original illustrations from each book, E.B. Lewis's illustration and Joe Cepeda. You know, Rocco, I come to work every day, and I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by artwork from some of our country's favorite illustrators. Many of them you have interviewed on your show. I mean, how fortunate I come in and look, there's Mo Willems' work, and there's Dr. Seuss, and there's Maurice Sendak, and well, I could go on, but I'll leave out 100 people. But it's just a wonderful atmosphere here.
Tell us what Next Year in the White House is about.
Next Year in the White House is about the very first presidential Seder held in the White House and country. Did you know, Rocco, that Christmas was celebrated in the White House almost 200 years ago? And Easter was celebrated, but nobody celebrated Passover until 2009, when President Obama did. And this is the story of how that came to be. You know, Passover is a holiday that Jews celebrate all over the world to talk about their escape from slavery to freedom. And it's a wonderful, joyous occasion. And we have dinners called Seders to talk about it. And so this book is really the story of American history.
Did you always know about this story?
Well, actually, I did know when it happened because I had read about it and I was very excited. But you know, it didn't occur to me to write a picture book about it until my good friends at PJ Library called me up and said, would you like to write a book about the first presidential Seder? And I said, boy, I would love to.
It says PJ Library right on the cover of your book. What's the PJ stand for?
PJ stands for pajamas. And of course, many children like to read books when they're in PJs in bed, and their parents like to read to them. But you can read a book, of course, anytime. And you know what, Rocco? You can wear your PJs anytime too. Why not?
Sometimes I really enjoy wearing my PJs all day. Yeah, especially on a snowy day. You know, everybody in the book, they are all real people. Have you ever met anyone from this story?
Sure, I actually was very fortunate to. One of the main characters in my book is Eric Lesser. And Eric is a former Massachusetts state senator. But you know how he got his start in politics? He got his start carrying Obama's baggage, his suitcases, from one talk to another. And it was very important that when Senator Obama came back to his room at the end of a hard day of campaigning, that his suitcase with all his clothes was in the correct room. Because if it wasn't, well, he might have to go out the next day in his PJs and give a talk.
When they were on the campaign trail, whose idea was it to have a Seder?
Well, that's a great question, Rocco. You see, Eric was young. He was just out of college at the time, and he had never missed Passover Seder at his family's. And so he was feeling sad and lonely. But of course, he had to stay on the trail because he was hoping to help Senator Obama get elected president, because he believed in so much that Obama did about hope for the country and trying to help lift everyone up. And because he could not get home for the holiday, he decided that after a day's work in the basement of the hotel where they were staying, there were two other young staffers, and the three of them got together and decided to hold a little Seder, just the three of them, in the hotel basement. And did you know, at the end of every Seder, all over the world, people hold up a glass and say, "Next year in Jerusalem." And that's where the Seder usually ends. But this year, after they had started, there was a knock on the door in the basement, and they opened it up, and who do you think it was there? It was Senator Obama. And he said, "Can I join you?" And he did. And at the end of the Seder, he held up his glass and he said, "Next year in the White House." And that's how I got my title for my book. And in fact, he was elected president. And so the very next year, he decided he would hold a Seder in the White House.
Children are encouraged to ask questions during the Seder. Isn't that correct?
During Seders, generally, we ask 4 questions that say, why is this night different from all other nights? Why are we celebrating this holiday? Why do we have this feast? Why do we have so many traditions we go through? And that's usually asked by the youngest child at the Seder, so that they could learn why this holiday is happening. And of course, it helps everybody to be reminded. Well, at the first Seder at the White House, the youngest child was Sasha, who was President Obama's youngest daughter. And she got to ask all the questions and learn about the holiday. And when we read the book, we learn about it too.
You know, in this story, we see Bo Obama, the first dog.
I loved writing about Bo Obama. And I'll tell you a little secret now, Rocco. Bo didn't actually show up at the Obama White House until a few days after the Seder. But I love dogs, and I have a very official dog license that allows me to put a dog into every story I write. But here's the funny thing. At the beginning of every Seder, a little piece of matzah is hidden away, and it's called the afikomen. And at the end of the dinner, all the children get to hunt for that piece of matzah, and the dinner can't end until they find it. And it's kind of a tradition that whoever finds it gets a special prize. And the prize, that very first Seder, was a chew toy for Bo.
Terrific. That's a great story. This story explores the connection between Passover and Black history.
Well, it was very important to me, Rocco, to see those 2 traditions combined. In fact, Harriet Tubman, who helped slaves escape, was called the Moses of her people. And people like Martin Luther King Jr. In fact, I wrote a book about Martin Luther King. I think I might have spoken about it on your show, called As Good as Anybody. Passover was very important to him, and it showed that blacks who were enslaved also had a possibility to be led to freedom. So it was a very important story that President Obama wanted his daughters to learn, and it was very important to him growing up. Later, as the Seders continued at the White House for the next 7 years, there was an extra tradition added where they started reading the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the black slaves at the end of the Seder, which celebrated the freeing of Jewish slaves. So it really was a close bond between our people.
The idea of making the world a better place continues in More Than Enough.
Let me tell you a little bit about More Than Enough, Rocco. So when I walk from my gallery to lunch every day, and I'm sure this is an experience that many of you and many children have, I pass people on the street. Many of them don't have enough to eat, and they're asking for a little extra money. There's somebody playing guitar on the street, and they have their case in front of them called buskers, and they're trying to get a little extra money to get by because it's expensive sometimes to live and have enough to eat and a place to live. Well, it turns out that over 1,000 years ago, there was a rabbi called Maimonides who worried about the very same things. And he talked about ways we can help make the world a better place, how we can give to people who don't have enough, and also that we should be thankful to them for giving us the opportunity to do a good deed. Because we all want to do good deeds in this world. So I wrote a book called More Than Enough, to help us start a conversation about how we can help each other.
There are so many ways to help make the world a better place. Volunteering for a good cause like Eric Lesser, sharing food, even just being kind. Richard, what would you do to make the world a better place? And you do so much already.
There's so much that all of us can do our little part. We can't fix everything, but we can always do something around the house or around our town. I mean, you see, Moses gives one slice of his pizza to somebody who needs a little bit more to eat. Sometimes he helps babysit when somebody needs a little extra help. I love sharing artwork with people because I think the beauty of fine art lifts all our moods and makes us all feel good about ourselves to see beautiful pictures and artwork. And I do try to help a little bit when I walk down the street just by talking to people who need more and making eye contact, saying hello, wishing them well. A little smile can go a long way. What about you, Rocco?
We were chatting before about visiting people who are elderly and housebound and really don't get that much company, and stopping in to see them really will make their day. And you know, today with technology, everyone communicates electronically, and it's always nice to see a real person. Viewers, think about how you could improve the world. Share your ideas in the comments section in our KidLit TV website.
Sharing kids' books is one of the best ways to make the world a better place.
Well, I agree about that. And thank you for being our guest today, Richard.
Oh, thank you, Rocco. It was absolute pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for watching, and hope to see you soon.
Remember, until next time, read a book in any format.